A couple of weeks ago, I was lifting some weights. I was working out in a local gym, and while I was working out, I saw a couple of guys who attend Fellowship Church. They're in high school, and they walked up to me, and we began to talk, and after we talked for a while, one of them said, "Ed, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?" I said, "No, go ahead." He kind of took me over to the side. He said, "Hey, does Fellowship Church, force you to give? I mean, you're the pastor. Do you have to give because you're a preacher?" I started laughing. I said, "No, man, I don't have to give." And I explained to him in a nutshell why I give. Over the last several weeks, I've been talking about questions that I ask myself and also questions that I've been asking God. The first time I said, "Why do I live?" I lobbed that question God's way. And then last week I said, "Why do I laugh?" And I asked God that question. Today, I want to answer the question that this high school student posed to me in that gym. Why do I give? I want to answer that. Why do I give? I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about what God has told me. And when I talk to you about why I give, I'm not talking to you from a preacher's perspective or a pastor's vibe. I want to talk to you as a man of God, as someone who knows Jesus Christ personally, because I basically have 7 reasons why I give, and God has shown me these reasons. Here's the first one. Why do I give? Because I feel better about myself when I give. I like myself better. So often our self-worth is too tied into our net worth. Wouldn't you agree? One of the first words I learned as a kid was this word mine. I still struggle with it today. Mine. People are either givers or takers. I don't want to be a taker. I don't want any part of being a taker. I don't want to be numbered among them. I want to be a giver. Every time I give, I'm mirroring the majesty of my Maker. God is a giving God. He's a gracious God. He wants to get stuff to us so then He can allow it to flow through us to others. That's why I give. I like myself better when I give. Do you get to get, or do you get to give? I've gone through periods in my life where I get to get. I shouldn't do that. In God's economy, I get to give. So when I think about myself, I become a taker. When I think about God, I become a giver. And I like myself. I feel better about who I am. I have a healthier self-esteem when I give, and you're probably the same way. The second reason why I give is because the one I surrendered my life to instructs me to give. The one I bowed the knee to instructs me to give. It's not optional. It's not something that is even worthy of a debate. The Bible says, for example, in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse." You might be going, "Well, man, what's a tithe?" A tithe it means 10. It's the first 10% of everything we make into the storehouse. What's the storehouse? The local house of worship. So bring the tithe into the storehouse that there may be food in my house. Lisa and I have been married for 24 years, and when we got married, we made a commitment to each other, and more importantly, we made a commitment to God that we were going to bring at least 10% of what we have to the local house of worship. We're not really giving it, we're bringing it, because it's not ours anyway, it's God's. Everything we have is God's, and He tells me to bring it. Now, why would God tell me to bring it? Well, I know, because God wants me to have joy. He wants me to be able to hit on all cylinders. He wants me to discover this amazing agenda that He has for my life. Generosity is at the core of who God is. Every time I give, I'm reflecting His nature and His character. Have you ever wondered why people give? There's a lot of people who are totally disconnected from God, the de-churched, the pagans who give. Why do they give? They don't know why they give, but they give because they're made in the image of God. God's a giving God, and mankind has this desire to give. Even in our selfishness, we still want to give. And most people who are away from God don't really give for the right reasons, but they're givers, and they're givers because of God. 24 years ago, Lisa and I made about $25,000 a year, and at that time, I had no problem writing the check to bring the tithe into the storehouse. No problem, $2,500, that's 10% of $25,000. Boom, drop it in the plate. No problem. Well, now we make much more than that. And sometimes I choke on the check. You're laughing. You mean you have those same feelings too? I'm supposed to be different. I'm a preacher, right? No, I'm not. I'm a preacher, but I'm not different than you. We're all the same. This church doesn't force me to give. I don't have to give. I'm not manipulated to give. I give because I like myself better. The one I surrendered my life to instructs me to give. I want to be such a generous man that I want to regularly give my accountant heart palpitations. I'm serious. Well, what are you doing, man? Why are you giving that? I can't believe that, because the world will not understand the giving of those of us who know Jesus Christ. The world will understand that. But because of what Jesus has done for us, and once we realize that and own that and process that, once I realize what Jesus has accomplished for me, I can't wait to give. And he tells me to give. Why? Well, that brings me to the third reason why I give. It keeps me in the blessed place. That's the third reason why I give. I want to live in the blessed place. We throw this term around all the time these days. Hey, blessings on you. You're blessed. This is a blessing. What in the world does that mean? Blessing? What does that mean? The word blessing means to be on the receiving end of the tangible and intangible favor of God. Usually when we talk about blessings or being blessed, we're talking about the intangibles. Woo! Stuff we can't feel or touch or smell or pick up. Woo! And that's part of it, the intangibles. God blesses us that way. But also, notice this, blessings is not just about the intangible, it's also about the tangible stuff. In other words, matter matters. God made the world. He created matter. He made the tangible stuff. So the blessings of God are both intangible and tangible. So if I'm in the blessed place, I'm going to be on the receiving end of the tangible and intangible favor of God. I'm in the zone. If I'm in the zone, I'm protected. I'm in the safe place, the sweet spot of God's success. I discovered a long time ago, I'm not rich enough, I'm not powerful enough, I'm not smart enough to secure God's protection and blessing on my life without being in the zone. I can't do it. I've got to have it. I've got to have it. Proverbs 11 says, one man gives freely, yet gains more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And that's the wildest thing about giving. When I understand that God has given stuff to me, and then he wants to work through me to give to his church and to others, I refresh myself by thinking about others, by giving to others. It's amazing in God's economy. Malachi 3 verse 10, once again, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. We talked about that. Now, let's keep going. Test me in this, God says. This is the only place in the Bible where God says, okay, test me, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessings that you will not have enough room for it. I don't want to be a dam. I want to be a river. I want to be someone who is like, well, not like Velcro. I want stuff to just slide off of me to others. Kind of like an eel, you know? Whoosh, things just slide off of an eel. That's what I want to be in God's economy. God's given me stuff. I get to give, not get to get. If I get to get, stuff sticks to me like Velcro. We don't want to do that. And I don't want to do that. Here's the fourth reason why I give. It breaks the back of materialism. You struggle with materialism? Oh, you're lying. You better throw your hand up. We all do. Don't be acting like, no, not me. Not me. We all do. I have the opportunity to travel around the country, and people oftentimes say, well, man, Ed, I'll just be honest with you. It's always weird when people say that, like, you've been lying to me? To be honest with you, man, I hear the Dallas-Fort Worth is like really materialistic. You know, Texans, big hair and big cowboy boots, big belt buckles, big Rolls Royce, big ranches, and kind of materialistic. And I want to laugh because everybody struggles with materialism. I don't care if you live in the Midwest on some farm or if you live in Highland Park or on Rodeo Drive, everybody struggles with it. What is materialism anyway? It's a preoccupation with things. It's being obsessed and possessed with things. Oh man, those are my things, and I made those things, and they're mine. That's what it means. And we all struggle with that. We think when we make money or we have stuff, it's our stuff. But I've never, ever seen a U-Haul trailer behind a hearse. I've never seen that. We can't take it with us, but we can send it on ahead, can't we? Materialism. How do you break the back of materialism? Here's how I do it. I regularly give stuff away. And I'm not talking about mangy stuff, stained stuff, ugly stuff, stuff I like. I regularly just give it away. And naturally, I don't do that. Naturally, it's mine. This is my purple jacket. This is my rod and reel. No, you know? Naturally, that's my whole mentality. God has shown me, though, because He's so gracious and so awesome, that He wants to work through me, so I just regularly give stuff away. Stuff I like. Like, for example, I like clothes. And I'll give clothes away a lot. Good clothes. Here you go. I like that shirt. I won't take it off, but okay. And I'll tell you what I really love, fishing equipment. I like that better than clothes. I have a lot of fishing equipment. And regularly, I'll give away stuff. Good rod and reels, guys. I can't believe it sometimes. I'm like, okay. And then I love to tie flies. And I'll spend a lot of time tying flies. And I'll buy the materials and invent these patterns to catch fish. And I'll go fishing and the Holy Spirit will whisper to me, Ed, give away the flies. Not audibly, but I can just feel it. So here you go, you know. And I feel good when I do it. Now beforehand, I'm kind of, that's mine, Lord. That's my jacket. That's my rod and reel. But give it away. Because when I do that, when I give stuff away, I have a loose grip on the things of the world, and it breaks the back of materialism. But please don't compliment this jacket because someone gave this to me, okay? So don't say, because I'm not going to give it to you today. No. You know what's hilarious about materialism, though? I was talking to my brother about this a while back. Materialism begins where my income ends. Some of you will get that on about Thursday. I think it'll. Let me unpack that for a second. It's like if someone drives the same car that you drive, they're not materialistic. If they drive a better car, oh, they're materialistic. Isn't that true? Aren't we like that? Don't be lying. Raise that hand. Okay. Materialism is really a funky thing. It's freaky because how do you know if someone else is materialistic? And here's where I mess up. In the past, I have judged people and I've called them materialistic. But here's what God has shown me. Ed, you don't know if they're materialistic. You're not God. Who are you to say, oh, you're materialistic? You're materialistic? Okay, here's a good example. At 1 o'clock, I have a flight today that takes me to another city. I'm going to be picked up at the airport, and I'm going to spend 4 hours with an owner from an NFL football team. This guy's worth billions of dollars. Has the jets and the yachts and all that stuff. I've never met the guy. I have no idea if he's materialistic. How can I say, well, because you have this and that, you're materialistic? I don't know. Only God knows. You see? So let's quit worrying about other people, comparing ourselves, contrasting ourselves, and worry about an audience of one. Regularly give stuff away and break the back of materialism. Material is cool. It's the ism that messes us up. The fifth reason why I give, it's a one-of-a-kind adventure. People ask me all the time, Ed, I want to know that God's working. I want to see God alive in my life. I want to do this and that and whatever. And here's what I tell them. Read your Bible, pray, get to know God, and then after that, start giving. All heaven will break loose. That's one of the quickest ways to see God move in your life. Just start giving. Start giving. God has shown me some amazing things through giving. He's gotten a lot of stuff to me and through me by His grace and power. Not by my stuff, by His stuff. It's been an adventure. So guys, don't have an affair. Start giving. Don't buy some red sports car. Start giving. You'll not believe what will happen. 15 years ago, we started Fellowship Church, and as you've heard me say before, we scraped up enough money to put a down payment on this tract of land, 159.2 acres. We sold 22 of the 159 without a sign on the property for what we owed on it exactly, pretty much to the penny. We own the land free and clear. Grapevine Mill shows up. Bass Pro shows up. And all of a sudden, the value of the property, well, it's time for us to build. People at Fellowship Church, man, were giving sacrificially to build. This building didn't just happen just one day. Oh, here it is. I think people think Fellowship Church has always been this way. Whoa, I guess it just happened one day. No, man. Or woman. We had so many people to give sacrificially. Unbelievable what went on. So if you're new here, if you've not been with us for at least 12, 13 years, take a quick panoramic view of this campus and these beautiful buildings, because people before you sacrificed and gave so God could bring you here and to reach you with a life-changing message of Jesus Christ. Well, during the time that we were building this building, a lot of people were stepping up and giving sacrificial gifts. I'm not talking about amounts of money. The amount doesn't matter. It's what's left over. One of the greatest gifts to Fellowship Church could be someone giving $2,000 and maybe they make $20,000. And that's a much greater gift than someone who's making $3 million a year who gives $100,000. That one who's given $100,000 and makes $3 million is throwing pocket change God's way. That's the way God works. Well, during this whole deal, Lisa and I were trying to have another child. We had Libeth, we had EJ, and the doctor said, for you guys to ever have another baby, you're gonna have to go through all these infertility stuff and all these tests and all this stuff, and you're gonna have to spend some money to make it happen. I said, doctor, how much? He gave me a figure. I was like, wow. So we saved, and we had some money set aside in an account earmarked for the next baby, for infertility. We were praying and we were talking about building a building, and God just spoke to us and said, give the money earmarked for the infertility to the church, Ed. So Lisa and I prayed about it, and we wrote the check, and we gave it. A year later, without any medication, without any medical procedures, Lisa had twins. That's the blessings of God, man. See, God's gonna bless your life. You cannot get out of the zone if you give. And I'm not talking about financially. Yeah, God blesses financially. He does. But He's blessed my life in much bigger and broader ways than just financially, relationally, occupationally, spiritually, stuff that money can't even touch. But a lot of you here are walking around going, man, I'm pretty sharp. I've made a lot of money. I have the gift of just making money. Hey, man, it's not you or woman, it's God. God's getting that stuff to you because He wants to get it through you to his church. Here's another one. This is a crazy story about giving. See, God tests me all the time with stuff. Oh, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I bought Lisa a car. The first time in my life I paid cash for a car. Some of you are saying, well, that's stupid. It's a depreciating item. I wouldn't do that. Well, I did it, and God used it. Bought her the car, drove it up. She's so excited. It's yours. Paid for, honey. She drove it around for like 8 months, you know. And one day, I'm sitting in my office, and my assistant says, Ed, there's a car dealer on the line, and someone has donated a brand new car to you and Lisa. I said, is someone trying to play a joke on me? Let me talk to them. Hello? This guy goes, Mr. Young, yes. He said, someone anonymously has donated a car to you and Lisa. I said, I don't need a car. We don't need a car. I just paid cash for a car. I was kind of bragging, you know. I just paid cash for a car. I don't need a car. He said, you don't understand. This guy said God has led him to do it, and the car is coming. I'm delivering it in a couple hours. What kind of car do you want? I said, okay, a black Suburban with tan interior. So, several hours later, here this Suburban pulls up. And guys, let me talk to you. You know what I'm thinking, don't you? I'm going to sell Lisa's car, pocket the money. That's what I'm going to do. So I call Lisa. I go, Lisa, this is unbelievable. Some anonymous, this is just nutty. They've given us a car. I'm going to sell your car and pocket the money. She's like, well, have you prayed about it? I'm like, I know I should do it. So, you won't believe this. I put the phone down. The car's in the parking lot. Are you ready for this? I walk outside of my office, and I walk into Preston Mitchell's office. And here's what Preston says to me. He goes, hey, Ed, there's a needy family at Fellowship Church, and they have some handicapped kids. They need a special van to carry the kids in. Do you know anybody who has any kind of money to buy them a van? And I'm telling you, I felt the Spirit of God say, you the man. Now, I didn't hear that audibly, but I knew it. You the man. So I said, Preston, yeah, I might know someone. So then I walked back into my office, picked the phone up. Lisa, guess what? I really feel like God is leading me to do this. What do you think? So we prayed about it, and we said, okay, we're going to sell the car, take the money, buy the van for the family. It was done. I was feeling good about myself, and Lisa and I were like high-fiving each other. It was incredible. We sell the car, get the money, and then I find out that there was a mistake on my taxes, and I discover I owed the government pretty much the same amount of money that I made in the sale of Lisa's car. Oh, man. I said, it's ridiculous. I called Lisa on the phone. Lisa, I'm sorry. I'm the man of the house. I'm not going to give the money. Lisa, we can't afford this. I do have some money in retirement, but I'm not going to take that out. They'll penalize you until the cows come home. We're not going to do it, honey. We can't do it. We got 4 kids. It's not going to happen. Lisa goes, Ed, we need to pray about it. I think guys struggle with this more than women. In fact, I know we do, guys. Women are just naturally more generous. Guys are like, it's mine. We prayed for 2 days, and I knew that God wanted us to give that money to this family to get the van, etc. So we did it. And I cannot tell you what a God thing that was to do that. For me, for Lisa, for Libeth, for EJ, for Laurie and Lander, we told them, our entire family, even though some of them were tiny at the time, what we were doing. And it was a great thing, just an amazing thing. You see, God knew that I did not need a car, but God gave me that car to test me to see if I was the real deal or not with this whole money thing, with this stuff, you know. And he knew in his grace he could give it to me because in my struggles and in my selfishness, I would finally allow him to give it through me to someone else. God does that in all of our lives. It's the treasure test. He just tests us to build our faith. Well, let me tell you what's happened since that situation. I've had the opportunity to write like 12 books since then. So don't sit there and tell me that God is not blessed. God's a God who blesses. And if you want to see God show up in a big time way, you start giving. I'm telling you, it is awesome. But again, this is just me talking. I'm telling you from my heart the deal. Here's the sixth reason why I give. I want to be an example to my kids. I want to press this stuff into their life because I've discovered that values are more caught than taught. And oftentimes I wonder, are my kids getting it? They see us give, and we put out the offerings for them as they give in children's church and student ministry and all that stuff, but do they get it? Do they get it? And I'm just so thankful to have grown up in a very generous family. I've seen my parents give away almost their entire net worth 2 or 3 times. I saw that. I remember one Christmas, it's like, what are they getting for Christmas? Dad and Mom said, nothing. But that was the best Christmas we ever had because we made gifts for each other. It was really cool. It was fun. I was speaking on the East Coast about a month ago, I think. I took my 11-year-old, one of the twin daughters, Landra, with me to this event. My father had just given her a $100 bill. I'm still looking for that $100 bill when I was growing up, but you know, grandparents, they're, you know, parents on steroids, aren't they? So Landra and I, with some other people, are sitting on the front row, and I always have PMS before I speak, pre-message syndrome. I'm a little bit nervous, and it's a big church and stuff, and the music was going, and all of a sudden the pastor takes the platform. He goes, "Are you ready?" And everybody in the church began to cheer. Then he said, "Are you ready?" And then they started doing a wave. The entire church, a wave. I'm thinking, why are they doing this? I mean, it's a little bit crazy. They were preparing to give the offering. That's how excited they were. And I got so caught up in it, was like, man, this is incredible. And I look over and Landra is putting her entire $100 bill in the plate. I said, yay, God, she gets it. She gets it. She's a river, not a reservoir. God has gotten it to her. Now, already, he's working through her to bless others. Because, see, we're blessed to be a blessing. That's why you're blessed and I'm blessed. And we have different stacks of stuff. Forget how big or small the stacks are. We're blessed to be a blessing. And I want to be a blessing. And I want to press that into the lives of my kids. Here's the seventh and final reason why I give. I love the vision of Fellowship Church. I'll just tell you, man, I love Fellowship Church. Here's what Jesus says in Matthew 16, verse 18. I will build my hospital. No, I'm sorry. I will build my university. No, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I will build my what? Church. What? Church. What? Church. The church is it. So Jesus has taken away all of the debate, again, all of the guesswork. He said, direct the lion's share of your stuff to your local house of worship. That is where life change will take place, because there's 2 things that will last forever. People, you and me, and the church. So we have the opportunity, I have the opportunity to invest in eternity. I often wonder, why do people like give to hospitals and universities? I think it's fine to do that, but a lot of people give these big honking donations because it's an ego trip. Your name will be in lights, and you're the man, you're the woman, yeah, woo, hey, ho, hey, I'm the man, I'm the woman, look what I did, woo! But see, when it comes to the church, no one knows but God. And that messes with our selfishness. that messes with our pride and ego. And a lot of people cower. And a lot of people slither into the shadows because they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about the crowds and not playing for an audience of one. I will build my church. The gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Well, how does Jesus build the church? Well, he gives stuff to us so he can pass it through us. That's how he builds it. He blesses us. We're blessed to be a blessing. Fellowship Church is a total God thing, and God has done stuff at Fellowship Church that has rarely been done throughout church history. And for me, just to be a part of it, just to hook up with what God is doing, has been just a supernatural thing. It's truly, truly amazing. We had something cool happen a couple days ago. We bought a building in downtown Dallas for our uptown campus. Isn't that great? It's off of 75 in Ross. It's right there. It's an older building. We're going to take it, retrofit it into a church, and it'll be a beacon. It'll be just a great, great house of worship right there in the Arts District, 1.4 miles from where we meet right now in the temporary facility of North Dallas High School. To do it, it'll cost about $8 million. We don't have the money yet. So we stepped out and tied it up. And I'll be telling you more about that over the ensuing months. That was a cool thing. Saturday morning, I'll tell you another thing that was crazy, talking about just total God thing. Last Saturday morning, I went to a board meeting. And there were some people sitting in this room, and they have a ministry, and this ministry owned 1,100 acres in East Texas, 1,100 magnificent acres, pine trees that big around, lakes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful acreage. They had heard about the wonderful things that God has been doing at Fellowship Church, and because of that, they gave 1,100 acres of East Texas land to our church. 1,100. I still am in shock. And we're going to build the camp of all camps out there for our children and students. And also, too, we're going to build a retreat center for pastors who are all across North America and the world that are hooked into our church. I'm so amped up about that. I'm still in shock. I'm like, wow. Isn't that amazing? See, when you have a church that's generous, like Fellowship Church is, as we give and help others, things just flow to us and through us. You remember the first time when I started this series, one of the first things I said in that initial installment, Why I Live, I talked about starting a major college basketball game at Florida State. It was against Auburn, and I was so happy. I called my parents and I said, Mom and Dad, I'm starting tonight. This might be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, which it was. I said, if you guys could come out here and see me play, I can get you a ticket. So they talked, and Dad hopped a plane, flew out, and I played the game. I didn't even have a great game, but I played. I did not think about the 16,999 people there. I only thought about my father, because we had a great connection with sports and athletics, and we had some great times together. So I was playing for an audience of one. I make money for an audience of one. I save for an audience of one. I give for an audience of one. And one day, when I graduate from this life to the next, the God I love hopefully will say, Ed, well done, my good and faithful servant. You earned consistently, You save strategically, and you've given liberally. I give for an audience of one. How about you?